H. Identify the components of fixed overhead expense. Fixed overhead includes indirect costs that remain constant in total within the relevant range. These costs do not fluctuate with short-term changes in production volume. Typical components include factory rent, depreciation, insurance, and salaried supervision. These expenses are capacity-related and often tied to long-term commitments. The per-unit cost behavior differs from total behavior. While total fixed overhead remains stable, fixed cost per unit declines as production increases, influencing cost-volume profit relationships and absorption costing outcomes. 1. Identify the appropriate allocation base for fixed overhead expense. Fixed overhead is typically allocated using a normal or standard capacity base. Common allocation bases include direct labor hours, machine hours, or normal production units. Normal capacity stabilizes cost assignment. Using expected long-term activity avoids significant fluctuations in per-unit fixed overhead caused by temporary volume changes. Strategic consideration improves cost accuracy. Selecting a consistent and realistic allocation base supports budgeting, performance evaluation, and inventory valuation under absorption costing principles. J. Calculate the fixed overhead application rate. The fixed overhead application rate is calculated using budgeted amounts and a predetermined activity base. Specifically, the rate equals budgeted total fixed overhead divided by the budgeted or normal level of the chosen allocation base, e.g., machine hours, labor hours, or units produced. Using budgeted rather than actual data stabilizes product costing and avoids distortions from short-term volume fluctuations. Normal capacity is commonly used to smooth cost allocation. This approach prevents excessive fixed overhead per unit when production is temporarily low and avoids undercosting during peak production. The predetermined rate ensures consistent application of fixed costs throughout the accounting period. The rate supports absorption costing and inventory valuation. Once calculated, it is multiplied by actual activity to apply fixed overhead to production. This systematic allocation ensures that inventory includes an appropriate share of manufacturing overhead for financial reporting and performance measurement purposes. K. Describe over and underapplied fixed overhead and accounting treatment. Over or underapplication occurs when applied overhead differs from actual overhead incurred. If applied overhead exceeds actual costs, overhead is overapplied. If actual exceeds applied, it is underapplied. Differences typically arise due to inaccurate estimates or unexpected changes in activity levels. The variance reflects volume or spending differences. Underapplication may indicate inefficient spending or lower than expected production, while overapplication may result from higher production levels relative to estimates. Accounting treatment depends on materiality. Small variances are usually closed directly to cost of goods sold, COGS. Material differences are prorated among work in process, WIP, finished goods, FG, and COGS based on their relative overhead balances to ensure accurate financial reporting. L. Compare traditional overhead allocation with activity-based allocation. Traditional allocation uses volume-based cost drivers. Methods such as direct labor hours or machine hours allocate overhead uniformly, which is simple but may distort costs in complex, multi-product environments. Activity-based costing, ABC, uses multiple activity cost pools and drivers. Overhead is traced to activities and then assigned to products based on actual consumption, improving accuracy when overhead is significant and production diversity exists. Strategic implications differ significantly. Traditional systems may overcost high-volume products and undercost low-volume, complex products. ABC provides better insight into profitability, pricing, and cost control but requires more data, resources, and implementation effort. M. Calculate overhead expense in an activity-based costing, ABC, setting. ABC calculation begins with identifying activity cost pools. Total overhead is grouped by activities such as setups, inspections, or order processing. Each pool is assigned a cost driver reflecting resource consumption. An activity rate is calculated for each cost pool. The rate equals total activity cost divided by total expected driver units, e.g., cost per setup or per inspection hour. This provides a precise measure of overhead consumption. Product overhead is determined by multiplying activity rates by actual driver usage. The sum of overhead assigned from all relevant activities produces total overhead cost for each product, enabling more accurate product costing and profitability analysis. N. Identify and describe the benefits derived from activity-based overhead allocation. Activity-based costing, ABC, improves cost accuracy by linking overhead to actual activities performed. Rather than relying on a single volume-based driver, ABC assigns costs based on multiple cost drivers that reflect how resources are consumed. This reduces product cost distortion, particularly in complex or diversified production environments. ABC enhances managerial decision-making and strategic planning. More precise cost information supports better pricing decisions, product mix optimization, outsourcing analysis, and profitability evaluation across customers or product lines. It also reveals cross-subsidization that traditional systems may hide. ABC promotes operational efficiency and continuous improvement. By identifying non-value-added activities, management can eliminate waste, streamline processes, and improve resource utilization. The visibility of cost drivers encourages accountability and supports performance measurement aligned with strategic objectives. O. Explain why companies allocate service department costs. Service departments provide essential support to operating units. Functions such as human resources, information technology, maintenance, and accounting support production and revenue-generating departments. Allocating these costs ensures that total product or service costs reflect all resources consumed. Cost allocation promotes accountability and performance evaluation. Assigning service costs to departments encourages managers to use shared services efficiently and make informed decisions about internal usage versus outsourcing alternatives. Accurate allocation improves pricing and profitability analysis. Without allocating service department costs, product or departmental profitability would be overstated. Proper allocation ensures fair measurement of divisional performance and supports better budgeting and resource planning decisions. P. Calculate service department cost allocations using various methods. The direct method allocates service costs only to operating departments. It ignores services provided between service departments, making it simple but potentially less accurate. The step-down method partially recognizes inter-service support. Service departments are ranked, and costs are allocated sequentially, though reciprocal services are only partially incorporated. The reciprocal method fully accounts for mutual services. Using simultaneous equations, it provides the most accurate allocation. The dual allocation method separates fixed and variable service costs, allowing more refined performance evaluation and decision-making analysis. Q. Demonstrate how regression can be used to estimate fixed costs. Regression analysis estimates cost behavior by identifying relationships between total costs and activity levels. Using historical data, regression separates mixed costs into fixed and variable components based on statistical estimation. The intercept of the regression equation represents estimated fixed cost. The slope coefficient reflects the variable cost per unit of activity. This provides a more reliable estimate than simpler techniques like the high-low method. Regression improves budgeting and forecasting accuracy. By measuring the strength of the cost-activity relationship, e.g., through R-squared, managers can evaluate reliability and use the model for flexible budgeting, planning, and strategic decision-making.